Hey guys, welcome to my channel once again. So today is this next video is going to be about consent. So what I'm going to talk about today is what consent is and how it applies to everyday life, why people need to know about consent, and also to teach others about consent. So basically, what is consent? So consent is where I don't have the actual official definition, but consent in my eyes is where the person says yes to they want to do a certain thing. So for example, so if the person says yes to having sex, that's consent. If a person says yes to an initiation and to get into a gang, that's consent. So it's like, and also as well, I think in everyday life, it applies to sort of everything in a way, and it's like you have to be really kind of, because obviously not a lot of people talk about consent within sexual assault, and it's really kind of, you have to be like, you have to know your facts, because if you don't know your facts, then there's no point in even talking about consent. Because especially a lot of immature people, like especially a lot of guys within the ages of between ages of 15 and 17, they get kind of immature about that kind of thing. So they think consent is a joke, which is why it's so temperamental, and it's like you need to know what consent is. And it's just, I think also as well, it applies in everything, gang life, sexual assault, in terms of even signing forms and stuff. It kind of applies that. So I also a few months ago, I wrote a paper on social issues. It was just my own kind of thing I wanted to do. So basically, it's called Social Issues, and this is what I wrote. Now, and this is to do with consent. Now, when people say social issues, there are so many issues surrounding the community. Gangs, knife crime, young mothers, homelessness, being wealthy, having to live in a world where there is violence. There are many more, but one I've left out on purpose, just so you can realise the irony of it, and that is consent. Consent is a big issue in the country, especially in Brent, which is where I live, in the UK. And you may not know it, and you may be shocked by the statistics, but one in 3 women and girls have been sexually assaulted or will be in their lifetime. Shocked you? Well, that's what happens in this borough. When no one knows, it gets swept under the rug. And even when it's mentioned, people just dismiss it. And this is the issue. And most of the time it's because people find it awkward or discomforting to talk about. And because they may not like to talk about it, or they may have experienced having been sexually assaulted, which is common for victims. The other thing is that people don't actually realise what they are actually doing when they do things to help out, like starting up charities to help those who have been victims, or like Mariska Hargitay did, and start your own foundation. Since that was done, millions of people have opened up around the world about what happened to them, and I feel that Brent should be next on the list. Even though it's slowly happening over here, as there is a UK Says No More to Mariska Hargitay's No More by the Joyful Heart Foundation, which is based in the US, and we now have a base in London, so it's easy for those who want to or need to get involved. To be honest, all of those issues that I mentioned in the beginning are related to consent. Gangs are all about consent and whether or not you're able to join it, but a lot of the time you never really get a choice as you were forced. Young mothers, which is another example, except this one is all about peer pressure and life-changing decisions, but there is also the consent part of it, which is deciding to terminate the pregnancy or not. To be honest, the consent to that is something which is a big issue, especially if there were to be a custody battle between the parents. And actually, a lot of the time, it's actually the kids' parents who argue about what to do with the baby. Most of the time, it's the father of the son who wants the abortion the most. You see where I'm getting now with the idea of consent? I may or may not have proved to you that consent is involved in all areas of social issues, but there is another thing. It needs to be addressed, and it damn well needs to be sorted out, especially for sexual assault. So that was what I wrote. So that was kind of what I wrote, which is basically that was my opinion on what I think this world kind of needs. Also as well, there's also kind of links with that is how people know about what consent is. Basically, the way people will know what consent is basically they have to kind of, they obviously, it's pretty simple, and some people don't understand how simple it actually is. No means no, and that's just it, and yes means yes, and that's it. Now even if the person, so say there's a relationship and the person, they want to have sex, now the girl can say no. The girl can say no even after the sex has started. She can suddenly decide to not have sex, which is fine, because that doesn't mean that she wanted it in the first. It doesn't mean that she wanted it then, but now she doesn't want it anymore. That's fine. That's not an issue. Like, that's literally like that's not a problem. It's just the way the way that the whole situation is. Also as well, I think in a sense, anyone who knows about consent, this is so important. Teach others about consent. Consent is like, it's so consent is, you have to know what you're talking about, because obviously people don't take it seriously, and that's why there's so many issues in the news about people being sexually assaulted and stuff, because people don't take it seriously. There was actually a case in the UK. I think it happened a few years ago. I think it was last year actually. I watched on Panorama where a young girl who was 6 and the guy was like 2. The boy was 2 years older than her. He stuck his fingers in her, and I think it happened during school, and she came home one day and she couldn't sit down. So then the mum noticed something was wrong and she started crying, and the mum asked her what happened, and obviously the doctor told her what happened, but obviously the school dismissed it. And what the school did was their school made her move instead of expelling the boy. So it's just really upsetting to like even mention. But all I can say is like, teach others about consent, because it can really, really help. I know obviously it doesn't stop sexual assault, but it does teach others. Like it will stop it in some cases, not completely, but it will stop it in some cases. And also what I wanted to, so that's like kind of like what I wanted to talk to you about today. I know it's a bit short, but I'm trying to like make sure these videos are like kind of short and like you'll remember them properly. Also what I want to say is, if you guys have any stories to tell that you know, or your personal stories, and I'll make them anonymous, don't worry. If you don't want me to say your name, I'll make them anonymous, it's fine. But I would love to tell the stories. I want to try and tell a story almost once every couple of videos. But if you guys have a story, please you can DM me. I'll put my Instagram in description below. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share, guys. It would mean so much to me. I am now going to go binge watch Chicago Meds. As you can see right here, it's my second favourite medical drama. Thank you guys so much. I love you all, and Steffi is out.